Now let's go ahead and look at setting up the hierarchy so that we can pose our bike. Alright, so we're trying to go through and name everything as we go, and that's usually a good course of action to take. If we open up our schematic view, you can see my particular naming convention for this is not really a naming convention at all, but I just kind of named everything, something that makes sense, wires and so forth. And these green items are actually groups, so I've taken all the wires and kind of grouped them together so that I can just organize things a little bit better. All right. So we can also start to group things together so that we can move them. So in this case, we need to move the fork assembly up here. So we need to group all of that stuff together. Okay, so we can first seek out the fork tubes. Okay, so we've got those. So let's go ahead and create a new group. So we'll go group, and we can call this something like front fork. Or if you spell it wrong, as I did, you can go ahead and just rename that. All right, and so now what we can do is start to add any of these other groups or pieces that we want to be able to move when this rotates. Okay, so we know we want the front wheel. Okay, and so we'll go ahead and find all of the pieces that we want. So we want the headlamp and the handlebars for sure. So just so we can see things a little bit better, I'm going to go ahead and move these over. Okay, we want the front wheel we want, the front brakes we want. Okay, so I'll go ahead and move those over. And we want the triple tree, 2 of those. Okay, so go ahead and find all of those. And you can just start dropping them in by using our little connect right here. So I can go ahead and just connect those up. Can connect those up. The headlamp, the brakes. Okay. And if I go ahead and take this, I can actually collapse that all down. And if I now select that, you can see what I'm still missing here. Okay, but if I go ahead and move this, you can see I'm actually moving that whole thing. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on. And I'm going to just grab let's find the rest of these, the wheel front. Okay, so I got the front wheel, and then I also need the front fender here. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this in. Right in there. Okay, and again, we can go ahead and collapse that. So now it looks like we're just missing the axle there. So I'm going to go ahead and take that axle. This axle here, and go ahead and drop that in. Okay, so any of the pieces that are going to be associated with the turning of this fork. So now all we need is the fender. Okay. That's going to be right over here. Let's go ahead and bring this down and connect that up. Alright, so now we can go ahead and again collapse this. And so that gives us that entire fork. Now, if we were to go ahead and rotate this right now, you can see it's not really behaving as we'd like. So we need to go ahead and modify the pivot for this particular group. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to our hierarchy panel. We want to affect the pivot only. Alright, and we can try some of these different things, but I think we're just going to go ahead and move this pivot manually. So I'm going to come in here and just take this pivot and move it up here. And I want to move it in the center of this piece right here. So if you need to, you can go to the wireframe and move that. And I'm going to just rotate that about 24 degrees. And just move that into position there. Turn my snapping off. Okay, so if we turn that affect pivot off now, and we go to rotate this, we can now rotate this, and it rotates the way it should. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of turn this a little bit. Okay, let's also go ahead and just group everything else together. So we'll take all of these top pieces, go ahead and group those, and we can just call it bike. Okay, and we can go ahead and connect all these pieces up. Okay, if we want to, we can go ahead and collapse that. Now we take the bike and rotate it over like this. You can see it's rotating from the center. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take the pivot point for that and go ahead and just move it down. Effect pivot only. I'll just move it down to where the wheels are impacting. Okay, and now we can just tip that over. Okay. So now we can get our bike posed up. And you can take that kickstand and rotate it down as well. So now that we've got the hierarchy set up and we've got a pose, let's go ahead in the next lesson and look at setting up a little bit of lighting. So we'll do that next.